So short and long term goals for HR. So one of the short-term goals and we did this really before we walked into budget season, cause we were able to actually model what our true costs are based on, people's current selections, knowing that, a few people could change their mind, they might wanna have different selections in the future, but we evaluated Lake County government's benefits, compensation, and employee programs to strengthen our employer value proposition and position us as a county that is competitive and a preferred employer in the area. That's been I know it's a short-term goal, but that's actually been something that I think the work started really with Tim to bring our pay scales up to be competitive, to try to have good benefits offerings. And then also, one of my things I've been working with HR on is to really try to improve processes for people so that work-life balance can be there. To develop a learning and development roadmap with tiered resources tailored to the needs of different positions and departments. We really prioritized having funds available for people to do training. I think in the past, when people have been told you have to cut your budget by 10% or 5% to get within, the budget. I think what's happened is education and training have really been the places where we've slashed. And that was really something we stopped people from doing this year. There are other places we can save money, and training people is not the place where we wanna be doing that. Training people means that the people who work and stay with you get better at their jobs over time and can really streamline some of their work. So that was a really big goal that we worked on this year in the budget process, is making sure we actually keep funds available for people to get their CDL if that's the barrier to us keeping people, et cetera. Alright. That was all I had for them.
Okay, moving on.
Super easy.
Alright, so short-term goals were to get you guys effectively onboarded. These are from our budget book last year, and then I'm gonna add a few things that I would like to do in the short term. We're to get you guys onboarded, statutory requirements, budget overview, organizational history, operations and processes. I will say that as operations and processes change, probably be bringing those back to you guys as we identify, hey, we're documenting processes and we find that things are inefficient. One thing that will be coming across your plate is the use of Airtable, which our staff is using, and they request new MOUs, RFPs, work sessions.
IGAs,
IGAs,
resolutions, proclamations, any a document that goes before the board, we had 15 separate processes.
Yep.
To get to
Wow.
one place, and I was like, hey guys, what if? And so we're in the middle of that what if transition.
So we're gonna be getting a link to you guys soon, so when you wanna request work sessions, you can request them, you can say who you want to be there. So it'll be a form essentially that you fill out and the questions you would want answered. So we can start working to make sure we've got all of those things lined out and not just through multiple emails. So we're gonna be working on getting a link to you guys and working with you to understand what that process looks like. I think it's great because it creates a historical log of things that you've done in the past, information that you've requested, to really get people lined out so we show up and don't have to schedule another work session for a current work session. Collaborate with commissioners to develop a strategic plan that aligns and supports your long-term vision for the county. I know that we've got CCI coming and there's a request for DOLA to come back and maybe do some strategic planning so that we're starting to think about, okay, what does a 5-year plan look like? Informed also, of course, by accurate numbers and knowing what we think will happen in the future. Fostering ongoing community engagement by inviting all people of Lake County to connect with local government. I think that we've done a lot of work trying to foster community engagement. That's a really big place we wanna continue to do work. Long-term goals. Build on efforts to establish resilient leadership structure and deepen expertise across Lake County government. Invest in a comprehensive plan to balance land use, harmonize the natural and built environments and foster cohesion and collaboration among Lake County's government organizations. That is a really big long-term goal, is to get our departments to be able to collaborate across departments, to have clear deliverables for projects, to be just organized in how we work with external partners so that we show up organized and can be a good partner. By showing up with all of our stuff like ready to be that partner, and that is a big part of the work that we are doing. Other big long-term goals I have are to create SOPs for every department, and documented processes, so even if someone leaves, that process could be picked up by someone else. To streamline and improve and automate processes where it makes sense as we document them and recognize we could be more efficient, like AP being automated. To really provide services to the community in a way that's beneficial and seen as doing it well, just by being planners and not being reactionary. Other big long-term goals are to have a capital asset management plan, and I know that we're starting that work this year. I'd really love to see that we have a clear plan for the next 5 years, that as you finish a year, you're looking out to plan that next year. And to have that actually shown as a dashboard on our website, that's a really big long-term goal that I have for us, that I think will be really doable as we have our finance process dialed and actually get the work done to know what do we have, what does it need. So we can start to say, okay, next year we know we're gonna do these 3 roads, but in the next 2 years, we're gonna do 8 more, or whatever that capital project is. So those are big long-term.
Candace, how are you going to invest in the comp plan? Like, what is that investment actually gonna look like? Are we gonna have people assigned to
Yes.
actually making that happen? Are you gonna have a manager who's double checking that work is being done, or how do you see us doing
As
that?
we finish the next rounds of comp plan meetings,
Mhm.
I asked for Anne, and I'm really excited to have
Rachel?
our Rachel and also Joshua, our executive team coming on, have asked for them to be assigned with the people who would be in each of those different groups.
Mhm.
So if I can't be at every one of those meetings,
Mhm.
someone can be there and have a voice and be documenting, hey, where are we moving towards and what do we want to see that plan look like in terms of shaping our economic development opportunities, in terms of informing, what do we need to be charging for permits and how can we streamline some of those processes and make them automated and a little more clear to the public, hey, here's where we're at, here are things that you could be showing up to be engaged. And so I've asked for us to be signed up for every one of those, knowing that I'll be sending one of the 3 of us to each one of those sessions. Is really
So-
the goal.
So you're saying that the investment looks like you strengthening the county manager team so that that work can be continued,
Yeah.
not just in individual departments' tasks that
Yeah.
are extra, that could fall off, but they're gonna actually live with your
Yeah.
manager team.
And it doesn't mean that the department who would be engaged isn't, not that they aren't able to go, but that we have somebody at each one of those, because I think
Yeah.
it's so integral into what we'll be able to do in the future.
Yeah.
And we wanna have a plan that sets us up not only for who we are now, but who we're gonna be. And we wanna make sure that like the county has a voice in that, because it could either really strengthen or really limit, what we can do in the future, and we just wanna make sure we're involved in that process.
Yeah.
Fully.
Cool.
Alright, y'all, so I think operations is kind of an amalgamation department of many different branches, specifically 3. So we have IT, we have comms, and then we have administrative services. That is gonna shift just a little bit going into 2026, what that makeup looks like, but that's why you get kind of a diverse set of goals that hit all three of those different branches. So, y'all heard a little bit about this in April, but one of our short-term goals that was really important because it does have a fiscal impact, also a security impact, was doing a comprehensive audit of all accounts, platforms, and users to identify and correct redundancies and discrepancies. Justin and Sebastian did fabulous work in our Verizon portal, which is our cell phone service provider. They reduced the cost of that billing by about $1,000 a month. Nikki and I went through every single line for phone, for fax, for services. We turned a lot of stuff off. We called a lot of numbers that just rang and rang and rang. I only turned off one thing that was actually critical. It was the redundancy line for dispatch. I was like, well, this just rang and rang too, but redundancy. But we got that fixed, and so that's really exciting. And paired with that, Nikki was able to document the accounts, the location of where that account is. And so it's just gonna be much, much cleaner and a tool going forward so we can manage that. Likewise, Justin went through every single person's Microsoft account and made sure that they had Microsoft Defender, which is our virus software. These are just baseline essential things we should have in place, but Candace was kind of speaking to this, systems and processes and turnover. And when you have those three variables floating in there, you just miss some stuff. So we do have a stronger practice now, we have documentation, and we have just more people that know these things. So, going in kind of that administrative cycle, we really wanted to implement a comprehensive calendar that includes key dates, deadlines, and milestones for the budget and strategic planning. I think that y'all have seen the fruits of this effort. We really do have it lined out, our milestones throughout the county of what we are asking staff and what the officials to work on and when they're doing it. All of that information is proactive instead of a surprise. And in fact, you are in one of the events of that scheduling and planning right now. So I have shared this with Sarah Bushman. So not only is this she's gonna be the EA and she's really gonna be taking over that calendar and milestones, but not only is this an internal tool, we want it to be an external too. We really wanna share with the people that live here, this is what we're doing, this is when we're doing it, and so they also kind of have that map of expectations. So they know when's the right time to ask questions, like trying to be more educational about what we do here at Lake County government. So, you may be shocked, but lots of things are changing here at the county. And change can be really, really hard. I think that when we say something that is shifting, I think it's important to give the why. I do think it's important to understand the history because all decisions, practices, and processes, there's a reason why they're like that. Even if they're a little wonky, there's a reason why. And people put time, energy, and effort into that. And so you don't want to be dismissive of that work in any sort of way, but kind of come at change from the side, get that rapport, get that buy-in, and make sure that we are effectively offering training, resources, and communication to support all of that. One example of that is we really wanted to change kind of a philosophy around calendaring here at Lake County government. So I could only see the calendars of the people that are my direct reports unless someone shared their calendar with me. Now, everyone's calendars are open. But with that, we needed to really instill some new skills. We created step-by-step documents that have screenshots. We created video tutorials, and then we landed all of that in our Workplace Essentials team so folks have access to that. And so I really think that as we do make smart choices as our organization evolves, that operations can always be an assist and reinforcement with change management with our three different branches and how they connect, not only within themselves, but in the larger organization. We at Lake County government have done a lot of work in our local community to make sure that we are a point of contact and leading when there's something, when we're having a gray sky day, someone's not going well. So a joint information system and a joint information center are two functions of an Office of Emergency Management. Claire really helped with this work in getting started, making sure that we had a contact for every public information officer in the county, PIO. We've been having quarterly PIO meetings in the Annex Huddle, and we're just chatting, getting to know people, because when you're not having a good day, you don't wanna be like, who do I call Lake County School District, what do I do? I now know who Bunny is, I got a name to a face, and I got a cell phone. So this is work that is gonna continue. I think it's a really nice progression of Sammy's role as the communications manager moving into our OEM role, because she's gonna know what we've done with our GIS, our Joint Information Center and our JIC, and can continue to involve that. So, also in the comms realm, we want to continue to strengthen relationships with the people of Lake County. You are absolutely right, sometimes we have not been on the forefront of telling stories, messaging, all of that. I think last summer what really comes to mind is the bridge and a culvert. There was a crisis, finally got finished. One thing that we have really been developing is getting the information from the different departments and offices so we can really amplify it and share it before something happens. And I think that information lag sometimes was a symptom of comms being a new role within the county. Public Works, they did their own messaging, they did their own marketing. And so they've done that for a while, and then having someone specifically in that role, that was a new practice. But we've created several different pathways to connect with staff. I think Sammy did a really great job building interpersonal relationships, going to different facilities, connecting with folks, so we can get that information out there and be a little bit stronger and more proactive in the way that we communicate with the people who live here. Next slide. All right. I am super excited about this one. And by the way, I want to introduce Steven if you haven't met him. He is our new fabulous IT director.
Hi, Steven.
Hi, Steven.
Brings a wealth of experience and already some really great ideas. I'm excited about it. A project that's been important to me is a comprehensive asset management cycle system so we can support structured device replacement. We have been piecemealing, buying a computer here, buying a computer there, gluing stuff together. I think that is one strategy for sure. I would really like to see some planning, and that's gonna help us manage better, getting people replacement devices on a cycle versus when something,
Waiting till it breaks.
but that's gonna help us understand costs, but it goes beyond laptops. It does go into some of our hardware, larger pieces like switches, servers, all of that. But when we can understand exactly what we have, and Justin's been actively working on capturing all of that information, we know more than I think we've ever known about our technological landscape and what devices we have. But this is also gonna be for software. Steven has worked through projects like this before, like I said, it's 2 thumbs up. So as we know, we do live in a multilingual community. It was really important for all of us to make sure that we could communicate in the languages that our community was speaking. I would say that Sammy and Laura were instrumental in developing a staff member that had translation certificates in human services to be able to celebrate their expertise and also employ people in Lake County. So we did create best practices for language interpretation and translation. We also created a pathway for all staff to have access to that. I would say, unfortunately, that human has exited the organization, so it's something that we need to think about. We previously had been using services out of Denver for interpretation and translation. That's an okay solution. I think that if we can develop people on staff that have these skills, that are compensated for these skills, it just makes a whole lot more sense. So I hope to see that again in the future as a resource for staff in our community. And then finally, the piece that I'm most excited about, like I mentioned, we've really had a disconnect of continuity in IT. We've had varying levels of knowledge, skills, and abilities. We've had fantastic people though who have served in the role. But as a consequence of that, we've had to rely on a managed service provider to support us with IT, just to make sure that we can make everything go. And there was 3 months when I was the only IT staff member, and people were like, this isn't working, and I'm like, I can reset your password, and we need a little bit more than that. So I'm really hopeful as we start to develop our IT team, and this is the first time in years we've been able to say IT team instead of like, we have one human. that we're gonna be able to decrease our dependency on outside consultants.
Mhm.
We are, in January, will be the first year of our 3-year agreement with Applied Tech. Hands down, they have been fantastic and it's been a really good relationship. I have called them crying. And they're like, it's okay, we'll figure this out. But I knew going into that, and I did talk with Esquire Floyd quite a bit about it, what it would look to buy out of our contract. And so we shouldn't make decisions tomorrow, but I feel like these humans are gonna be able to buy out of that MSP contract and provide support, to staff, and that serves our community. So that's a long-term goal. Guys, it might be a short-term goal. I don't know, we may be able to do this.
Okay.
Cool. Do you wanna see the most important slide?
Yes.
That one.
My final act will be ordering these on stickers, and this is what will be given out at Trick or Treat Street at the end of the month.
I like pumpkin guy.
Alright, that is the end of staff presentations for this.
Wow, well done,
Liz,
everybody.
speak.
It is 10:31 AM, we will conclude this morning's work session. The Lake County Board of County Commissioners, thank you commissioners, thank you staff.
Thank you guys.
Thank
thumbs
you,
and thank you.
staff.
I like
Well
what's
done.
better.
Yeah,
Thank you,
through